Ah, the tricky problem of a tiny garden and a big storage shed. But the issue with this particular tiny garden is the shed is in the sunniest spot. It's another place of the part of this garden that we might like to go and sit in. So we need to move the shed. But how and where and what can we do to make it less obvious? So I've created a scale drawing of this particular garden, and this is the size that the shed would be. So obviously it's currently sitting in the back corner, which a lot of people put sheds in the back corner because they feel they'll be less noticeable. But we can move this around and see where could it be, where would it fit, what can we do? And as a design principle, I'm going to give you a little tip. Sometimes walking past a shed to somewhere nicer helps the shed hide a little bit more. So now if we have something to go through towards the end of the garden that's worthwhile going down there, that's a beautiful place to be, we'll walk past the shed. And if we can somehow disguise the corners a little bit, make them less obvious and shed-like, then automatically the shed will begin to blend in. So perhaps here, if we introduced a pathway, some planting to go past, and we walk between the two to the end garden, that might make the shed feel less obvious. And again, if we put a really good feature at the end to keep our attention, that will give us another reason and another way to disguise the shed in the garden. And maybe then conceal it with a little bit of planting from the other end when we're sitting down at the end of the garden looking back up. So as you can see here, I've moved the shed to this right-hand side. Now, we need to find a way to disguise the facing wall of the shed, and in this particular garden, they needed to have some storage space and extra seating space. So if I put in the patio, and there would be a step down, and then what we created was some multi-purpose seating. Put in a small raised bed and just a little trellis along the top fence to give us a bit more privacy. You can see now that we can begin to put features in the garden. Now these are two big mirrors that will sit on the side of the shed that will reflect plants back towards my field of view. But we still need a route down the garden. We still need something to walk past that holds our attention. So we're looking at the left-hand side of the garden rather than the shed on the right-hand side of the garden. Small trees are really good assets in tiny gardens. Beautiful leaves, attractive blossom, all of those kinds of things. There's plenty available. And then maybe again to frame our view, we can put a larger plant up on the patio. And again, what we're trying to do is direct our attention down to the end of the garden. So we're not looking at the mid-ground, we're looking at the far ground to see what's there. And that mirror on the end fence will attract and bounce light back, and maybe the reflections of the plants that we put in front of it. Let me just do in maybe in this particular instance, some large leaves. A really big look at me plant on the patio will help hide that left-hand fence and again draw our attention to the end field. Then once again, all of the really attractive plants, the colour, the areas that we want you to look at, we're putting hand side. Then we can fill this raised plant up with nice green foliage that won't interfere with the scene, obviously, but it's something that can sit there and again will reflect in the mirror that we've put on the side of the shed. And let me just finish off a little bit of my squiggles. What do we put in front of the mirror at the back? Well, let's be bold. Let's reflect the same tree that we've had at the near ground and put it at the far end of the garden, we're joining the two sections together. We're saying, look down here. And then I can put my table and chairs at the end of the garden, and it gives me a reason to walk down and enjoy the space. The shed has to become an integral part of the design. You can't think about hiding it. You have to think about beautifying it. And really, would you notice the shed and as much now? And the garden feels actually bigger.